I don't think they should be told that they need someone to hold their hand because of their skin color. They're capable, they're smart, they're bright, they're strong, they can do it, and I don't think there's any need to have separate things. Student clubs, sure. If you want to have a student club with like-minded people or people that you share cultural things with, that's fine. But to have an endorsed separate orientation that's through the university, I think it's actually quite rude to the black and brown students.
It's extremely rude, and it's not even historically accurate.
Florida and everything like that. Don't you think that it kind of goes past that though, with like not allowing teachers to say even like certain words about like their own like sexuality and stuff like that? Like, don't you think that that kind of is like teachers are allowed to like should be allowed, I think, to like just say this is my life and this is who I am?
Nope. It has nothing to do with the classroom.
I feel like we should still be talking about how to have safe sex.
You can do that,
Yeah.
parent to child, not public school teacher to a classroom of 30 students. That is weird. That should not be happening. No one should be talking to children about sex and sex acts and how to perform it safely. There is no such thing as safe sex with someone who you're not married to. That is a very risky interaction between two people. That is not safe.
So if you guys don't know who this is Caitlin Bennett, and she's going around to college students talking about what you should or should not be teaching children in schools. This should be interesting. Let's go.
What's your name?
I'm Gabby.
Gabby. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Yes,
Caitlin.
nice to meet you.
I mean, I'm pretty aware of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Not good ways, but
Not good ways. Oh,
yeah.
darn.
But you're out here asking for people that disagree with him, correct?
Well, people are coming because they're going to see Charlie Kirk, and so yeah. I mean, do you disagree with Charlie?
I mean, yeah,
blah,
I
blah,
disagree
blah?
with him. I would say on pretty much mostly everything.
Yeah, you don't think there's something you can agree on?
Not a lot.
You should go up there and ask him. I bet there's more.
If I could get in there, there's a lot of people.
Is there?
Yeah, you have a bit of a smaller crowd. I
know. I'm not as popular. Yeah.
No hate, obviously. We all start.
There might be a little bit there.
Yeah, we all start somewhere. It's okay. But basically,
I'm not
my
worried
question
about
is
it.
because you're asking people that disagree with him, and so a big part of his thing is that he thinks that like college is a scam, and that's why he goes to these colleges and bitches and moans about how college is a scam from someone who didn't really go to college, dropped out of college. Yeah, kind of silly. So I would just say someone that I believe you're college educated, surprisingly, and so I would say that I would just wanted to ask how you feel about that, and like how you like, do you believe that your college is a scam, and like, do you like understand like what he's saying, because I think that his opinions on that is just kind of.
Before we go too deep, college is a scam for the majority of students, and I'm not just blindly saying this. I have a college degree in optical engineering. I'm getting a master's degree right now in electronics engineering, all before I'm even halfway through my 20s. So yes, I am very college accredited, even at this young age. College is a scam for most students, and I say that because college tuition is too much, and majority of people's degrees do not substantiate how much money they're putting into it, meaning that they'll be paying off their degree forever, and they're not making that much. However, I'm not going to say college students aren't educated necessarily. I think they are getting an education and they are getting something from college, obviously. I just think the cost to benefit ratio for the majority of students is not there. However, I will say this, right now there's not too many alternatives for college because the concept of college makes sense. You want to go to a place where you can learn a specialized skill and build a life for you and your family. However, in reality, it's just too many. It just doesn't work out that way. There are a lot of unemployed people from college. There are a lot of people who will never pay off their debt, and they put themselves in crippling, terrible situations financially. So I don't think there's an alternative necessarily right now, because a lot of jobs do require college degrees. They really do, even if the jobs don't necessarily need them. So it's like it's hard for you to say an 18-year-old should do something else when there's not much to do. You could go into trades, but are there enough trades right now? I don't know. I need to do my research, but let's continue.
Stupid and like.
So it sounds like you really want to talk to Charlie, not me, but the line is too long, so you came down here to get, what you can get out of talking to somebody that has a following online. So I don't mind being respectful to you, and so if you're gonna take shots and try to be rude, I'm not gonna talk to you. Okay, so, but you want to talk to, but if you want to talk to me, I mean, you came up to me, so I'm not gonna talk to you if you're gonna be rude. But I would say college it can be a scam. I don't really take take much time in worrying about if college is a scam. If people want to go to college, they can. That's his thing. I think because he dropped out of college, maybe he feels really strongly about justifying why he dropped out of college. Maybe to say college is a scam is like a coping mechanism. I don't know, but that's on him. I don't.
Like, you say that like that, like education in general does like make people like, it's like more like the Democrats are like spreading their like agendas through the schools and all that like kind of rhetoric.
It can happen. We see with DEI initiatives, it can happen. There are.
What do you think DEI means?
It's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or something.
Yeah, but what do you think that like means in schools? Like,
so I actually talked to somebody.
What does that mean?
So I actually talked to somebody who was in a DE and I, that's how he called it, department in his workplace, and he said it's elevating the voices that aren't heard enough. So women are benefiting from that because they might not have the skills or the confidence to stand up for themselves and ask for promotions and stuff like that. So it looks like a lot of things. It can look.
That's bad?
I didn't say it was bad, did I?
But you say that.
So the student is just trying to find somewhere to disagree with Caitlin Bennett. Caitlin Bennett hasn't even said anything yet, and the student already disagrees with her. She's trying to pry her out and say, "Oh, you hate college?" Caitlin's like, "Oh, I never said that." She's like, "Oh, do you hate DEI?" Caitlin's like, "Oh, I never said that. I don't know what you're talking about." So the student is just wanting to debate, and that's the problem. You've already came online and said that you disagree with her. And you don't even know why you disagree with her. She hasn't even said anything yet. Can you bring up a reason on why you disagree with her, or you just hate her because she's conservative?
That like DEI is in schools like kind
so
of
you
spreading.
asked me. So you asked me one question, and then you're trying to catch me on your camera there, trying to get me to say something else. But if you want to ask me one question, I would be happy to answer it first.
Okay.
So when you ask me something about Charlie, you're gonna have to ask Charlie what he thinks about
we
certain
can move
things.
on from that.
Yeah.
You could just talk about.
So
I want to know what you believe.
So you think your first question was. Your first question was what?
We can move on from the college is a scam thing because, like you said, that's a Charlie question, not a you question.
Yeah.
But I just want to know what your opinion on.
Oh, if you think that
spreading that sort of like liberal, like kind of like gay propaganda into schools.
So I think with departments that specifically have a DEI initiative, it can happen because they want to go out and they want to empower people and find people that are, within the transgender community or the LGBTQ community. I know personally when I went to college, a ton of things were propped up. They had a orientation specifically only for brown people, brown students. So they propped them up and it wasn't allowed for white people to come in. They had special resources for brown and black people. And I think when you invite people into those spaces, it might seem like a good thing, but you get these brown and black students in there and they're left to be told, yeah, you need something separate. You can't actually function here in something that everybody has. You need something separate. So we're going to hold your hand extra because you're black and brown. And then they get this victim mentality and they kind of have like oh no, the white people are suppressing me. I need something special on campus. I don't agree with that. I don't know what Kent State's doing now. I don't agree with that, but I also don't believe that students are super dumb. So I think students can think for themselves. They can eventually vote. I think they're smart enough, so I don't have as much of a bad feeling about college students as maybe other people do.
But just to like interject there on what you were saying about like those programs kind of like holding the hands of black and brown students, don't you think those programs were created with a purpose of like, because black and brown students were so disproportionately like not allowed to go to college and not allowed to learn certain things, and that those programs were put in place for a reason, that there was a historical reason why those programs were put there, and to kind of lift that and like kind of like balance those scales because white students were so like having that advantage in schools for so long.
So when I went to college, because that's what we're specifically talking about, there was no one that was black and brown that was prohibited from going to college. They did not suffer from that. That is not something that was happening. Maybe generations past, we know that happened, but right then and there, no. I think black and brown students are just as capable as white students and can go through all the same orientation, and I don't think they should be told that they need someone to hold their hand because of their skin color. They're capable, they're smart, they're bright, they're strong, they can do it, and I don't think there's any need to have separate things. Student clubs, sure. If you want to have a student club with like-minded people or people that you share cultural things with, that's fine. But to have an endorsed separate orientation that's through the university, I think it's actually quite rude to the black and brown students.
It's extremely rude, and it's not even historically accurate. It's not even accurate. Black students are definitely capable, and that's what they fought for in the civil rights movement. Sometimes people misinterpret what the civil rights movement was for, and they misinterpret what historical figures like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was actually fighting for. They were fighting saying that we are equal, that we are as intelligent and that we are as capable, and we deserve an equal fighting chance as other races. That's what they were fighting for. They were saying that we had the same intelligence, we have the same mindset as other people, and we deserve to at least be in the room without other forms of discrimination. Because back then, you weren't even allowed to have black people at your college. You weren't even allowed to have black people in a dorm. So he was saying, like, just let us in, we'll do the rest. That's what he was saying. Right now, what she's arguing is a special treatment for black students. That is harmful and it's extremely disrespectful to black students, because we're not animals, for one. We have the same intelligence and the same brain as other people. We do not need kid-like, toddler-like, disrespectful forms of special treatment. That is extremely harmful and is downright racist.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just because, like, even though, like you said, like the black and brown students are not being prohibited from doing anything, that doesn't mean that there's not anybody there that would probably want them to not be included in things or probably feels that certain way. So I think that they're made there for, like, to have safeguards for minority students that have been disadvantaged by those, like, groups and people and stuff like that. And so I think that there's still a purpose for them, regardless of how it makes you feel about it, I guess.
Yeah, that's totally fine if you disagree. That's totally fine.
But with the whole, like, pushing, like, those agendas in schools, I just think that like I know you haven't been to school in a while, and so a lot of the times, like, well, not necessarily calling you old, but just saying that, like, you haven't been to school in a bit. And so I think a lot of, like, not necessarily just you, but a lot of, like, people that have those similar opinions to you would like to say that, like, schools are trying to, like, make kids gay, like, actively in the classroom, and, like, giving kids sex operations in class. We hear Trump talk about it all the time.
Yeah, well, we know sex operations aren't happening in the classroom. We have found instances of high school teachers. This is not a phenomenon that's happening widespread or anything, but there was just a report out, I forget which high school it was, that there was a high school teacher that was counseling a student, and they were talking about transitioning her gender and doing all this stuff behind her parents' back. That teacher was placed on leave 2 years later. And something like that is troublesome. That's troublesome. I don't think there's any place in a high school for things about sexuality at all.
So
that's
agree,
something.
Like, Florida's, like, kind of don't say gay policies.
So that's not what it says. That never says don't say gay. It's a Parents' Right in Education Act is what it is. So they never say don't say gay. I do agree with that. I think that that's something between a parent and a child that should be talked about, because that is something very serious. It's very serious for a child to engage in their thoughts and in the conversations. Super important that it's be held with their parent or their legal guardian. It has no place for a stranger. Teachers, you're supposed to trust them, but at the end of the day, they're strangers, and I don't think that children should be talking about sex or confusion about identity and who they might be with strangers.
Schools are a place to learn, and if kids don't feel safe speaking with their parents about that, don't you think that those students deserve a safe place to be able to communicate those thoughts and maybe kind of work that out and get that sort of support that they need?
So yes, they can go there to the teacher or the counselor, whatever it is, and say, I'm feeling this way, and the conversation ends there, and it gets referred to the parent, and that's who can decide how they talk to about that topic with their child. If someone ever came up,
like, kids, like the way I'm saying, well, there's people with abusive parents, and if, like, they were to report that to their parents, then that's just endangering kids unnecessarily, I fear.
That could happen. I'm not saying that can't happen, but most of the time, I don't think that that's what happened. I think that child is probably lacking in some type of attention from home. Maybe they're not receiving exactly the attention that they want at home or something like that, and they're seeing their friends do all this stuff. It's really confusing time to be in high school, especially for you.
So here's my response on this, because I understand Caitlin Bennett's perspective. She's looking at this from the perspective of a good parent. From my understanding, she has babies or toddlers, and she's actively involved in their lives. She's probably married, probably has a really nice family, and a lot of people who agree with this take probably do have really nice families. So from their perspective, they're like, there's no way a school should be teaching my children this, because I will teach them this as a responsible parent. And that's a 100% fair perspective. I'm a little more nuanced on this topic, because I've seen a lot of instances where people have terrible parents that don't teach them anything and that actively hurt their progress. So I don't know how to really address this issue, because some students really do need a good role model, and they do not have that at home. They really don't. They need someone to teach them about sexual education, because at home they'll never get that. And from Caitlin's perspective, and I 100% get it, she's involved in her kid's life. a lot of people are very involved in their kids or their nephews or their nieces' lives, and they will guide them in the right direction. But I might be biased. I've seen a lot of instances where parents are terrible for their children. They would probably be better off if they didn't have those specific parents in their lives, and that they need a better role model, and that they need to be taught these things in school. So let me know what you guys think, because I don't really know how to form a real opinion on this, on sexual ed being taught in schools. I don't know. I think high school is a little, I'm talking about high school, by the way. High school is like, people are getting older, their students are having hormones, so I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, though.
Young women suffer from gender confusion more than men do. We have a lot going on as ladies growing up, so it's really important that the parents have control in how they talk to their children. It's no one else's business. Your guidance counselor could be the most caring person ever and could really help someone, but at the end of the day, that is not their business to engage in that type of talk with a child, because that parent knows that child. And more often than not, I would trust the parent more than I would trust a guidance counselor on that topic.
I think I'm a little biased. Like, I think I had a lot of teachers in high school that I would say that I kind of had felt more comfortable with than I felt my parents. And I think if they were required to report that to my parents, I think that would have put me in a really bad situation. And
how so?
Not to get too much into it and everything like that, but I would say that my house wasn't a safe place to kind of share those ideas and everything like that, and that would have put me in very serious kind of danger like that.
When you say danger, you mean physical danger? You would have been abused?
Basically, yeah. But I would just say that if that kind of safe place in school would be taken away from me, I think I would have ended up a lot actually worse than I am now. And I'm not transgender, and I'm not all of that. And so I think that I didn't, just because I was speaking to my teachers about certain things, I don't think that my teachers were out there being you should just be gay and trans and do all of that stuff. And I was yeah, sure, okay. And that didn't happen.
Luckily, it didn't happen.
And that's kind of where I was getting at. I didn't say it like that. And then it doesn't happen widespread. It's not like an epidemic or child abuse or something. But some kids are really not safe with their parents. So it's I don't know. Because in her perspective, Caitlyn is she's not going to treat her kids bad. And a lot of people don't treat their kids bad. My parents didn't treat me bad. But it's I don't know. Some kids really do need outside help. Should it be schools doing it? I don't know. I really don't.
I would say is if you were in danger in any type of physical way, even mentally or emotionally, because those are legitimate forms of abuse as well, that's what should have been told to the guidance counselor. I'm feeling this type of way and I'm scared I'm going to get hurt because of it. Not, I'm feeling this type of way, please don't tell my parents because they might not want me to be a boy, or they might not want me to be gay, and I'm scared that they're going to yell at me.
Making those rules doesn't really have that sort of assessment, and not all of the time that's the best way to go about it. And so I think just allowing kids to feel safe at school, I feel we shouldn't be taking that away from them.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying, for sure, especially with your experience. I will never change my mind, especially as a mother to 2 children, that anybody else besides me and whoever I consent to talking to my children about those topics, I will never support that. That is something that should never be talked about with children, especially minors, without the parents knowing. If the parent says, yeah, sure, guidance counselor, talk to my kid about being gay or something, go for it, but that there's consent. Parents deserve consent and rights.
But most of the time, if the kids don't feel safe with their parents, the parents aren't going to consent to them talking to somebody else.
There's probably a reason, because they that's a sign, that's a red flag to most parents that something's wrong, and we need to reevaluate, and we maybe need to spend more time with our children, and we need to see what they need from us. That's a red flag to the parents.
And I will 100% agree with Caitlyn Bennett on this. I think parents should be able to consent. There should be some level of consent form when it comes to sexual topics in schools. I 100% agree. To outright it completely, I don't necessarily agree with it. I do think parents should sign off on it, because some parents do not want their kids to learn that in school. And it's their kids. You can't force feed their kids non-essential information like history, mathematics, and science. You teach those, but you can't be oh yeah, we're also going to teach your kids sex ed. The parents should be able to decide if their kid should be able to teach that. Another thing is, if the kid is so endangered that the parent signs off on it, the parent refused to sign off on it and they're abusing the kid, that's a completely different issue. But parents should be able to say, you can teach my kid this with a check mark, or you can't teach my kid this with an X. But I'm going to end the video here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you want a part 2 to this. My name is LFR JoJo, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.